we're so back. Welcome. Bro, I'm feeling so good. I'm so excited for this, bro. Like, I just took a shower. I just had Einstein bagels, bro. Just just like set up, bro. Let me tell you about this setup, bro. Like, I so this is I'm streaming off my laptop right now. By the way, I hope my like integrated GPU doesn't like get fried from like this like potentially 9 hour stream. But I had my Mac Studio initially, and I was going to use that, right? But then when I was trying to access the test from my Mac, it wasn't it wasn't loading. Like I literally called French Interview. I'm like, yo, like this your website's not working, and they're like, oh, clear your cookie. So put my laptop out. Website worked great. I'm like, all right, great. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. I would have preferred to use my Mac Studio, but it is what it is. And so I got my laptop out. I opened up OBS to stream, and it's like, oh, it can't work because it does, have all these things. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I uninstall OBS. I reinstall it. Same error shows up. Then I go to I have to download this Java thing, and I download it. It still doesn't work, and I realize I need to download both of these things for some reason, even though I only have 64-bit. I also need the 32-bit installer, so I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, I installed both, and now it works. And now we're just gonna go with it because, bruh, like it's so goofy, bro. Like, why can't this just work normally? It is now, so I guess I shouldn't complain, but. Okay, we're gonna test. I'm gonna test the stream real quick and to see if we're good. But yeah, man, I'm excited for this. I don't know. I think the last time I took a full length was we can actually see the last time I took a full length right here. Where is it? Why am I looky missing it? Wait, where is it, bro? I'm tripping. Oh, here it is. Yeah, 9 hours. So this is on April 12th, like 2 days before my birthday. So we are low-key, I don't know, we might be completely chopped, but we could be like killing it. I don't know. It was like 6 months of like on college. I took summer classes. I'm taking molecular neuroscience. I don't know if that'll do anything, but we're the same. Honestly, we're probably gonna get a lower score. I think I got a 493 on this, and I got a 496 on the I think I took it like late April or something. So for the last time I took a 496, and then there was like 6 months of nothing. So we'll see how this goes. I'm feeling good. Feeling good. Wait, I forgot to check. I need to check this just to make sure audio is working and everything. We gotta do the redundancy checks. I think I took it like late April or something. I think we're chilling. So yeah, let's low-key turn this on. Okay, nice. Sorry if you talk in chat. I will not be reading chat. That sucks to suck, but it is reality. Although maybe I can set it up here. Like I can do if I have this here, right? I can set to see if maybe if I go into my settings or something, I can have like my chat on. I can do like my stream, advanced. I don't know. I it automatically popped up and I'm just like, get out of here. Tools, plugin manager, captions, WebSocket, help. Honestly, bro, it's fine. Maybe next time. All right. I feel good. Let's do this. Oh, I already took some of the test. Okay, slay. Let's get into this. Okay. Question 8. Let's see. Oh, looks like I already took some questions. It's fine. It's barely anything. People must sometimes perform skillfully on difficult tasks before an audience. Under such circumstances, they often wish to have friends, relatives, and other performers present. It is worth asking whether a supportive audience is really helpful, or whether it is just not, instead to impair their performance. Previous research shows the effect that is not simple or uniform. The following study was designed to test competing hypotheses about the effect of a supportive audience on a performance. Okay, great. Because friends are the most common source of social support, experiment 1 compared the effects of observation by a friend and by a stranger during the performance of a task that previous research has shown to be stressful. The task was to count backwards, allowed by 13, starting from 1470. Alright. Participants were told that the goal was to perform a successive subtraction operations as quickly and accurately as possible, but during a 2-minute trial. After the point in the instructions, experimentally indicated one may mirror in a microphone, telling half of the participants that a friend who had accompanied them to the testing room would now observe their performance. The experimenter mentioned that a fictitious name of the other participants of their observer, so randoms. The results suggest that a supportive audience had a detrimental effect. The participants who believed a friend was watching them made a significantly higher percentage of errors than those that believed a stranger was watching them. Yet the number of errors made at the particular stages of a performance, e.g. the second subtraction, was almost a decrement in the supportive audience condition resulted from a lower rate of responding, which meant that the neutral audience condition produced more responses with increasing accuracy. So, number of errors made detriment to the support resulted in lower rate of responding. Neutral audience produced more responses with increasing accuracy. So basically, the effect is working. The participants' answers to the post-experimental questions indicated that they were not aware of the effect of the observer on their performance. They're not aware. In fact, the participants in the supportive audience condition were less likely than those in the neutral audience to report being distracted by the observer or feeling stressful during the tests. Furthermore, the negative effect of the supportive audience judged, the participant rating of the feeling was valued but nearly identical in the two conditions. So they don't even know, bro. That's crazy. They concluded that the supportive observers impaired the performance of this difficult skill-based task by performing a response that reduces speed without increasing accuracy. Still, the reason for this audience effect was unclear. Friends and strangers differ in many ways, including the knowledge of one's abilities, their desire to witness one's success, and their expectations about one's behavior in a particular situation. In experiment 2, all the observers were strangers, and their supposed supportiveness was manipulated. The experimenter told participants in the supportive audience condition that both they and their observer would receive a cash prize if their speed and accuracy surpassed a certain criterion. Participants in the neutral audience condition were told that they alone would receive the prize for good score, thus they had no reason to suppose that the observer cared about the equality of their performance. Experiment 2 confirmed the prediction that a skilled performance would suffer with a supportive audience because they got cash. One question remained: did the difficulty of the cash produce an expectation of a failure that impeded its performance? Is a supportive audience a special case of an especially attentive audience, or one likely to respond emotionally to a performance? Why did performers report feeling less distracted by a friend than by a stranger when their performance suggested the opposite effect? Interesting. What conclusion about the nature of the audience support is justified by results of experiment 2 alone? Supportive friends can disrupt a performance if they would benefit from the success. Okay. Supportive strangers can enhance the performance if they did not. This is not true. So strangers can disrupt a performance if they would benefit from its success. I think it's this, because strangers didn't actually affect anything. It's we don't know if it benefits. It's just that we know supportive friends can disrupt performance. What this was manipulated? Experimental the supportive friends if they're in the observer. The participants the neutral audience saw that they were alone. The Rodriguez court neutral audience. This had no reason to suppose they cared about the quality. Confirmed the prediction that a skilled performance would suffer with the supportive audience. One question remains. Yeah, so supportive friends. So this is the supportive audience. Supportive friends can decide that they would benefit. Sure. Suppose that the experiment 1 is repeated with the addition of a hostile audience condition where these conditions are equivalent to those of this. The following would best accommodate this outcome. A supportive audience impairs performance. An involved audience impairs performance because they're involved. A non-hostile audience enhances economics because it's the same repeated with the data equivalent to. So involved impairs performance, sure. What finding from other research would be most apt to raise questions about the conclusions of the passage? Actors report feeling more confident before an enthusiastic. Okay, that it's not about the feeling; it's about the results. So musicians usually perform more skillfully when a friend is present. When they were, oh, okay. Raise question. Okay, sure. People who do not normally invite non-supportive persons do not usually invite non-supportive. I don't really know. To witness the public, okay? The presence of family members seldom affects the performance of household tasks. Well, this is like not a performance, it's not a skill-based thing. More skillfully, yeah, I think that's true. In experiment 1, which of the following hypotheses would most reasonably account for the post-experimental statements made by those in the neutral condition? My voice is getting kind of crazy. It hurts to talk. Oh, I should have some water. Hold on. There's no pause. There's no pause. I need water though. Okay, I have a water bottle. Alright. Which of the following hypotheses would most reasonably account for the post-those in the neutral condition? A performance anxiety, audience can affect upon. Proven that can be reduced, but with no effect on the neutral condition. What did they say? The original and the value were nearly identical in the two conditions. So basically, an audience can perfect a performance by. It can be reduced with no effect. Okay, does not. Performance anxiety need not adversely affect performance. Wait, I'm looking for a person. An audience does not affect their anxiety, but does affect their performance. So an audience can affect a performance, but it's not reducing or causing your anxiety. They had the same. The non-affected were, in fact, are less likely than those in the neutral to report being distracted by the observer. Okay, so basically the neutral audience made them more anxious, but did not affect their performance. So a performance anxiety can be an audience purpose can be an audience can affect performance by reducing. No, wait, what? Both these are not true. And performance anxiety can be reduced with no effect on performance. No, it can be increased with no effect. I think it's that. The purpose of experiment 2 was to be certain that supportive observer was truly isolate the reason for adopting a cautious performance style. Test the effect of incentives to improve one's performance. No, that's to like see if it impairs it more. Determine the relevance of a friendship to the audience effect. I think that's true because it's money. Yeah, supportive condition was that they both get money. Wait, that means I need to double check this because experiment 2 was sus. In the basic experiment 1. Supportive fencing and discovered reporters if they would benefit from success. Yeah, okay, that's still true. Alright, passage 3. There is no single invariable standard by which to assess a work of art. Its significance by the appreciator rests on his or her capacity at which. I just realized I'm on section 2, bro. When did I do the biology section? Okay. Its significance to the appreciator rests on his or her capacity at the moment to receive it. Similarly, a jest's prosperity lies in the ear of the person who hears it. The appreciator needs simply ask, what has this work to reveal to me of beauty that I have not perceived for myself? What of new significance has this work to express to me? No individual has the whole truth. Everyone has some measure of truth, however small. Let it be my task to find it and to separate it from what is unessential and false. Man is the measure of all things, declared an ancient philosopher. This teaching has not been superseded. The individual is the creator of a personal universe. He or she is the focus of the currents and forces of a world. The meaning of all things is subjective. So the measure of beauty for a person is determined by the individual capacity to receive and understand. Thus, it is that a person's joy and experience and appreciation of art in any of its manifestations are conditioned by the opportunity that nature or art furnishes for the spirit to exercise itself. In the reading of poetry, for example, we seek the expression of ourselves. Our first motion is perhaps a simple, unreflecting delight.
Hey, ow.
What?
Oh, sorry. Do you have like 4 hangers I can borrow?
Yeah, it's probably in there. There is no single invariable standard by which to assess a work of art. The significance to the appreciator rests on his or her capacity at the moment to receive it. An elementary manifestation of this tendency is seen when the popularity of these pictures whose subjects are familiar and can be immediately recognized. On a studio wall was once hanging a study of brush showing the play of sunlight onto quivering leaves. The visitor asked the painter if he had never had really seen the sunlight dancing on burnished leaves. The chickens which she had seen and could recognize were the elements of the familiar which she required in order to find any significance in the picture. This tendency is the basis of all appreciation. To a person who has never really beheld the beauty of a field and hill and trees and sky, to someone whose spirit has not dimly apprehended something that of eternal significance, of which these things were the material visible bodying forth, to such the work of the master is only so much paint on canvas. The task of the appreciator then is to develop the personal capacity to receive and to enjoy. I think that's interesting. That capacity is to be trained by the exercise of itself. To each new harmony that someone is enabled to receive intensifies the power to feel and widens the range of vision. The more beauty a person apprehends in the world, so much more the universal forces such a person brings into unity with the personality that is the hallmark of self. Okay, so basically, this passage is talking about how to appreciate art, and then things in the painting that only is how much they're able to appreciate the art, and it's their job as the viewer to find out what is to be appreciated. The more beauty a person apprehends in the world, so much more the universal forces such a brings into the unity and the personality of the hallmarks. So, the passage would suggest which of the following explanations for musicians who receive no applause for their performance. No one understands the music they perform, right? It's not about truth. It's not about no beauty. It's talking about the responsibility of the viewer or the listener in this case. Suppose that given a choice of various paintings, sailors choose seascapes. How would this relate to the opinions expressed in the passage? It would support the author's claim that the tendency of the basis of challenge the other is to develop our capacity to appreciate art. It would support the implication. It would challenge the author's implication. It's not about popular. The author doesn't really say anything about popularity, I think. Wait, and the tendency to see the popularity of those pictures of those subjects are familiar with the immediately recognized. Yeah, it's a support others kind of tendency about the tendency that is the basis of all art appreciation. So this lady saw chickens, and that's what she recognized, and that's what she enjoyed. The chickens were in the background. I think it's in here, but we can probably come back to it. Which pair of contradictory statements is implicit in the passage? Poetry and visual art are similar, poetry and visual art are different. Huh? Only artists can truly appreciate art. Art appreciation is what makes us human. Okay. There is but a single standard by which to judge art. There are many ways to appreciate art. Huh? We can appreciate art only that which we recognize. Appreciating art is all about being open to the new. Maybe. It's not talking about poetry. Only artists can appreciate art. Art appreciation is what makes us. No. There is but a single standard by which to judge art. There are many ways to appreciate art. I think this fits better. Which of the following is most like the ability to appreciate art as it is described in the passage? The ability to enjoy dance improves the more one dances. The ability to enjoy music tends to be inherited by the ability to run well is hampered by thinking more on it. What? The ability to do any one thing well decreases when one tries to do several things. What does this work reveal to me about the beauty I have not perceived for myself? What is the new significance of this work to express to me? Is most like the ability to appreciate art. Either A or D. Most several things. I think. The castrated train is the extra of itself. Each new harmony is someone's intensifies the part of feel. Yeah, I think we dance to dance. Which of the following statements were the most most likely it could be. That which delights is always what makes it right. The more things you can appreciate, the richer our being. To be human is to be an artist. A tree is just a tree. I think a tree is just a tree, to be honest. Okay, passage 4. Ireland's Skellig Michael is named for the archangel. The now uninhabited island, a large rock with 2 peaks jutting up from the sea, lies at the end of a 7-mile voyage across open water, a place of sheer precipices and terrifying landings. The Skellig, meaning rock or steep cliff in Irish Gaelic, was inhabited from perhaps the 6th century into medieval times. High on its easternmost peak, 600 feet above the sea, are the ruins of a monastic settlement, 5 beehive-shaped cells, and 2 small oratories constructed of unmortared stone. Their arched roofs are still intact, walls, terraces carved from the face of the cliff. Skellig, Irish Gaelic century. So this is this is a cliff. The ruins of a monastery. So it's like something on a cliff. Okay. The monastery. Oh, it's a monastery. Is reached from the sea by a ladder-like stairway hewn into the rock. It is difficult the ability to live here. The place is only fit for birds. Access to the island by a wicker boat would have been infrequent and dangerous. The Skellig monks built their tiny windowless cells on a shelf of sandstone hardly wide enough to recline on. They packed seaweed into the chinks in the cliff and made to make a garden. From the landing, I climbed hand over hand for 400 feet to a little rope net slung between 2 peaks. The path from there is another vertical stairway. The one is constructed of stone slabs, 200 steps more to the monastic closure, like an eagle's eyrie. Most of the rock is too steep for human cavitation. At no time the little cluster of cells have sheltered more than a dozen monks. Of the many monastery communities on the wider coast of Europe, this must have been considered the least welcoming. Yet, for nearly 1,000 years, hermits sat on the Skellig rock and searched the sea for some sign of the absolute. Okay, so it's very uncomfortable, but then we're doing something there. The monastery was similar to hermitages that originated in the deserts of Egypt in the early centuries of the Christian era and spread rapidly over Europe. For a time, every rock and cave from the Red Sea to the coast of Ireland had found its saint. Every cleft and ledge was a hermitage. The Emmanuel movement was not unique to Christianity. Every religious tradition includes hermits, but during the centuries that the Gaelic flourished, the movement was like a frenzy. The young men ran away into solitude as later they were learning to see, and young women sequestered themselves into convents as an evidence of their piety. In the 8th and 9th centuries, Vikings sacked Gaelic Michael numerous times. Why? It would hardly have been worth the effort. Did it simply represent a challenge? Certainly, there was a stubborn ethic sufficiency about the place that is irresistibly attractive. And the community survived. According to the legend, Olav Tryggvason later began to become the king of Norway, and its patron saint was baptized by a Gaelic monk, and his conversion brought an end to the pillaging. The eremitical fire lasted until the 14th century, then the rock reverted into the fishhawks. All across Europe, the dark, shadowy oratories of hermits were superseded by the grandiloquent visual poems of the urban cathedrals. Yet, in the 13th century, the sky became a popular place of pilgrimage. Penitents all from across Europe not only traveled to the rock, but made a grueling 700-foot climb to the Needle's Eye. Its precipitous westernmost peak, the ordeal required the devout to crawl onto a horizontal slab of rock that projects with the dizzy precariousness from the summit and kiss a stone cross affixed to the end of the slab. Alright, bro. We risking our lives for religion here. Okay, I see. Suppose that the ruins of a 16th century monastery were discovered on a remote island off the Swedish coast. Why, according to the passage information, is this discovery surprising? A few European clothes. Pilgrims wouldn't be able to reach the site. An earlier motive was not only the influence of William did not spread to Sweden's monks would have been unlikely to. Okay, this is actually I don't know. Let's come back to this maybe. Don't forget the flag. Which of the following relationships is most like the suggested relationship of the birds? Butterflies to the entomologists. Helicopters to the mountain climbers in Nepal. Penguins to explorers in Antarctica. Cattle to wheat farmers in Montana. Oh, okay. Because they can only be birds who are able to live there. So not stunning the birds. The helicopters can't live in there. Yeah, penguins maybe. According to the passage information, which of the following reasons was probably determinative in this selection? From time every rock and sea came supposedly had a saint, every cleft and ledge was a hermitage. The Arian movement was not unique, for every religion had hermits. But during the centuries that the Skellig flourished, the movement was like a frenzy. When went away to the sea, sequestered themselves. So Michael Skellig sacked Skellig Michael. Numerous times. Why would it challenge the sufficiency about the place that made it is attractive and the Moors and the community survived. According to the legend, Olaf later became the king of Norway, and his patron saint was baptized as Skellig monk, and his conversion brought an end to the pillaging. So the monastery is to see. So it is site for monastery because it's dangerous. It was protection promise from no. It's not this because they were attracted to it. Isolation. Too deep. Least welcoming. Monastery is similar. The flock reverted to the fishhawks. Holocaust fish shot oratories of hermits superseded. Now uninhabited lies at the 7-mile voyage. Walled terraces. It's theoretical. The opportunities is provided for suffering, I guess. Yeah, why not? The information that the Skellig had once particularly favored as a place of pilgrimage is most possibly connected which of the following passages assertions. There's a evidence officially the place that made it irresistibly attractive. A visitor's to Skellig Michael Castle Crossroad probably did suffer what following to fill to be spared to be accepted to fulfill a qualification for sainthood. The devout to crawl. Not to be spared, not to atone for wrongs, but they were devout to be accepted. Yeah, maybe. The number of monsters on his clan was probably due to extreme difficulty. Yeah, it's probably the living more than the living stage. It's probably the difficulty. We didn't talk about the food and water, so all right. I don't know how much time we have. I don't know if it's gonna be good, but we'll keep going. Passage 5. The sharp drop in the creativity of aging rock songwriters has been noted in particular cases, including those of Bob Dylan, John Lennon, and Paul McCartney. Has been noted. So these are bad writers. Okay. Many explanations have been offered by other music historians for these declines, but these explanations have invariably been specific to the individual artist in question. The loss of creativity with age suffered by Dylan, Lennon, McCartney, and many of the Beatles' successors is not a phenomenon caused by the factors but even the rock music said these artists appear to be the prime examples of lost conceptual creativity with age, one of the most persuasive patterns in human creativity. Interesting. During the first half of the 20th century, American popular songwriters developed a professional tradition. Best of these writers, individually or in teams, combined fluent and often witty use of vernacular language with a sophisticated knowledge of music. Their best songs express universal emotions simply and clearly with melodies that are easy to learn and remember. In the 2006 book, America's Songs Full of Lyrium, My Soul last year observed that the songwriters who gave to be noticed as the Great American Songbook were not writing about themselves, they were writing about us. They were the democratic populists who gave voice to the American people. These golden era songwriters wrote songs that fit the needs of musical comedies. Their songs were intended to advance the plot of those productions and develop their characters. Furthermore, these are the specific for singers. A handful of new artists transformed popular music during a brief period in the mid-1960s. The leaders of the revolution created a new kind of popular music that was neither simple nor clear. Verbal, complex images were often described with new recording technologies to make songs that eluded precise interpretation. The Beatles' Strawberry Fields is a classic example of a conceptual innovation made by young, inexperienced artists that, as different as Dylan and Lennon, were concerned with creating new art forms with little regard for or knowledge of traditional rules and constraints. Their inexperience effectively liberated them from conventions that constrained more experienced and more respectful artists. These new conceptualist writers performed their own songs. James Miller described the changes in the nature of the Beatles' music during this period of transition. Until then, rock and roll has been primarily a use of reveille, a medium for lifting people up and helping them dance their autobiographical or dance their blues away. The Beatles would turn it into something else again, a music of introspective self-absorption, a medium fit for communicating autobiographical intimacies, political discontents, spiritual elation, inviting an audience not to dance but to listen, quietly, effectively, thoughtfully. Traditional artists' work tends to improve with age as they gain a greater understanding of both their subject and their art. Bing Crosby's 1942 version of White Christmas sold more than 30 million copies and said the song went to become the most profitable song ever written. Irving Berlin, who wrote both the lyrics and the music, 54 years old at the time. In contrast, conceptual artists' work tends to deteriorate with experience. They lose the freshness of their early approach, become constrained by the acquired habits of thought. Thus, aging McCartney remembered the novelty of writing hits in the early years of the Beatles. Dylan can only look back with regret and awe at the powerful imagery he had created in his youth. According to the passage author, the typical explanations for the drop in creativity amongst 80s songwriters is characterized by a failure to generalize Albert Sims on stereotype lifestyle. Investigate individual. I fail to generalize. I think we'll go for that. And I suppose that mainstream musicians who write songs for musical comedies get better as artists age. How does it affect the okay? It challenges the author's claim about conceptual artists because he said that they get stagnant. So mainstream comedians, a song with musical get better as they age. Musical comedies. So what are the uh the musical comedies? Are they conceptual or traditional? I think they were traditional. Which of the following best describes the kind of artists the golden era songwriters were? They would be artists for the artists for hire, intended to invest the plots of the develop their characters. Be sung by professionals and tailored to the personalities. So they're former artists. I'm sorry that the songwriters who gave us. The best of these writers individually or in teams combine fluent and often use a witty vernacular language. They were oh wait, they were not inexperienced. Okay, they were artists for hire. They were. Okay. I knew what they were doing basically for hire. The author's reasoning implies that it would be a folly to do which of the following with the budding conceptual artists. A folly. What? They form their own songs. Describe the state until then, rock and roll. Maybe, yeah, it's introspective, so. It's, okay, education doesn't matter. I mean, tradition, but. I think that'd probably help him, right? Or coordinate, and then connect her with an agent who can take care. The inexperience effectively liberated them from conventions that constrain the more experienced and more respectful artists. Which of the following, if true, would most challenge the passage author's view as presented in the passage? Which of the following, if true, would most challenge the passage author's view as presented in the passage? Most of the songs featured in the Great American Songbook was about democracy, and okay, and most of the songs popularized song by songwriters by other singers. Yeah. Listen to the songwriter speech or had more than one song. Songwriters or under the age of 30. I think that'd most challenge it. Inexperienced duns. Okay, writing a speech made visible so that any reader instructed in its conventions can reconstruct the vocal message. All modern. Wait, how many questions are in this? Am I actually cooked? I may be cooked. But we keep going, I think. How many passages are there? There are 9. Wait, maybe I'm not. We'll see. Okay. Writing a speech made visible so that any reader instructed in its conventions can reconstruct the vocal message, like I'm doing right now. All modal linguists agree on this, but agreement is recent. Various claims preceded that agreement and some persistent misperceptions can be ferociously guarded. 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians invented writing, followed swiftly by the Egyptians, combined signs that were phonemes, signs based on sound, and morphemes, signs indicating syllables or categories. In the 19th century, Darwinian anthropologists believed that writing was the key to social evolution and proudly noted that their script reached back to the very civilized ancient Greeks. Yet, among Greek philosophers admired by these anthropologists, some questioned the writing's worth. Okay, so is writing valuable? Plato, the most environmental, certainly did. Think writing is worthy. In the Phaedrus, he argued that debating sharpened memories, corrected misconceptions, and produced truth. Writing remembered for people to could be misread, misconstrued, or misused. Text and reader could not argue, making erroneous readings undetectable only through speech, where error is so correctable that truth can emerge. Thus, the spoken word was superior. Huh? Oh, Plato questioned writing's worth. Interesting. A scholar and scientist of the Renaissance popularized this view. He translated one inscription, which actually spelled out the titles of Pharaoh Psamtik as instructions on securing divine protection from the god Horus instead. Kircher's reputation gave credibility to the claims that the Egyptian script was ideographic. Further, returning missionaries and explorers reported that Chinese and Mayan scripts were ideographic. This provided independent proof that non-alphabetic alphabet scripts were used, signs conveying metaphysical ideas, not phonemes. I'm getting lost. Notions about ideographic scripts persisted. Eventually, both Egyptian and Chinese scripts were recognized as both phonetic and morphemic. By 1989, Mayan was shown to be phonetic and morphemic, as some textbooks were still referred to as ancient Egyptian, Chinese, and Mayan writing as ideographic. Perhaps some of this persistence can be presumptions common in colonizing societies about colonized societies. Interesting. For example, in the 19th century, Darwinian anthropologists argued that societies followed a rigid evolutionary hierarchy. Every society had to evolve from savagery through barbarianism to civilization. Hunters and gatherers were stuck in savagery, others still lived in barbarism, characterized by agriculture, animal husbandry, and clans based on kinship. Highly organized, individualized, and industrialized, the Anglo-Saxon Americans and English were civilized. At the time, savages and barbarians might rise to similar enlightened status. Paralyzing social hierarchy without a hierarchy of writing. Supposedly a very righteous direct expression of ideas, 2 letters representing sound alphabet. Savages who drew horse to mean horse. Perfectly civilized people wrote horse to represent sounds writing phonetically. Interesting. Given Plato's claim that the spoken word is superior to the written word in the pursuit of truth, which of the following activities would he have been most likely to encourage today's truth seekers? Given Plato's claim that the spoken word is superior to the written word in the pursuit of truth, wait, I'm getting so lost here. My brain's all over the place. Thinking about Project Hail Mary. And like Elio for some reason. Given Plato's claim that the spoken word is superior to the written word in the pursuit of truth. Okay, which of the following activities would he have most likely to encourage today's truth seeker to adopt? Listening to candidates for political office debate. Participating with the group and discussing theaters and other works at a local university. Okay. Posing comments on internet sites. No. Getting involved in an ethics classroom hosted by written works. Nah, you have to have discussions. I think I'm cooked, guys. I may be cooked here. And the artificial language Esperanto is constructed from European languages that uses Western. This language would most likely be classified as phonetic. Wait, no way. I thought it was charging. Wait, no way. I might have to unplug my thing here. Returning missionaries and explorers supported that Chinese and Mayan scripts were ideographic. This provided independent proof use sounds conveying metaphysical ideas, not phonemes, not morphemes. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Studies are needed to put it correctly that the script memorialize historical events, especially information transmitted by the Greeks about Egyptian writing became increasingly garbled. Invaders from Alexander the Great to Romans tried to integrate Egypt in it. Yeah, it's like becoming destroyed. According to the passage, which the following situations during the Renaissance supported the view that Egyptian script was ideographic. Church reputation, yeah, okay, so it's this reputation, so 2 and 3, but it could be a claim that inscription General description. So maybe 1, 2, and 3. Translate 1 description, which actually spelled out one of the titles of her as instructions to doing giant protection. Oh, wait, that doesn't prove it's that though, so I think 2 and 3. Okay, I have 3 more passages. Oh goodness, it's cooked. When we look the other way down at the corridors of time to a period before coffee houses and the beginnings of independent journalism, we find that the readers we have to be trained gradually to play a game writers necessarily engage in. If Hemingway's story turned up in Elizabethan England, they would probably have been laughed out of court by readers totally unable to adapt to his demands upon them. Hemingway, like any other writer, must direct his narrative to a fictional audience or reader, some individual or group he conjures up himself, like one of the characters in his novels or short stories. For, except in special cases, the writer's audience is not actually present during the writing process. Unlike the reader of a personal letter, the fictional reader is inevitably cast in some sort of role not occupied in real life. He or she must either play along with it or put down the book. In Hemingway's case, a you and me relationship is fictionalized between the author and such mock reader, who is close enough to temporally and pictorially feel the vicarious participant. Language uses places the reader on the scene, and the omission of some details implies that he or she already knows facts that would have led to this and to be described to a stranger. The problem a writer has in defining the audience is like that of a student assigned to write on the proverbial "How I Spent My Summer Vacation." The student's dilemma is not just to say, but to whom. The answer is not easy. Grandmother, he or she never tells grandmother anything. Mother or father, there's a lot that would have to be left out. The opening sentence of A Farewell to Arms illustrates the terms of engagement Hemingway's prose and characteristically imposes on those who read it. The late summer of that year the novel begins. We lived in a house in a village that looked across the river and the plain to mountains. What year, what river? Apparently the reader is supposed to know. Every reader is being cast in the role of a close companion or confidant. The reason why the author is tight-lipped here is ostensibly that much of the distributed detail that would bore the insider. Hemingway points to this or that as though the reader could differentiate the near and the far, fully aware of the physical vantage point of the narrator. Moreover, Hemingway changed the definite article the particular article is object of our attention. The mission of the definite article, those initial production of a river, implies a degree of shared information that would likely have baffled a 16th century reader. A history of literature could be written in terms shows of art and before it. I'm right here. Oh, mouse doesn't work. So each new role that the readers would assume is related to previous roles. When narratives aphoros is merely a transcription of oral narrative, or that was imagined as an oral narrative. It was the tribe or transcriber who had to fictionalize. But today, of course, the situation has changed. No reader today imagines what a novel or even an email is recited exemplar to others, therefore being converted to written form. The game that the passage strategy to writer competitive contest deception is printed by writers and a particular practice that dates from the time when it shows an oral art form. It's not a contest of skill. It's not deception. It's not talking about an art form. Which of the following groups would constitute a part of the fictional audience, a term used by the passion? Some sort of image could be conjured up himself, like one of the characters in his. Except in special cases, the writer's audience is not actually present during the writing process. Passersby. He's not there during the making of it, so. Why does the passage author assert that 16th or 17th century readers would have laughed? Because he would have found his writing quaint because the plots and stories have arrived at 1 and 3, maybe? Wait, the history of literature has been written in time in terms of the ways which has been fictionalized from the time writing was broke away from oral performance. So as each genre grows, what it went before each new role that readers were made to assume previous roles. Alright, we're going because no time. When we look the other way down the corridors of time, the coffee house. Oh, wait, no, it's still going. Not historians. Contemporary. An intended reader that might best serve the purposes of mass media advertiser. Which one of the following describes a modification in the role of an intended reader that might best serve the purposes of a mass media advertiser? The intended reader is addressed in very personal terms, as indicated by specific terms. You are an insider. Yeah. That's sweeping detail. Okay. Why was the identity of the audience unproblematic for the oral storyteller who wrote down the plot of it was familiar because the literally on the scene. Not actually present, so then it's still a sitcom thing. It's still correct. Okay, new thing. Okay. Can we speed run? Historians. Yeah, 7 minutes. We had to switch. Historians become historians because they find history fascinating. There is something in the nature of historical events, wrote the historian Herbert Butterfield, which twists the course of history in a direction that no man has ever intended. History is fascinating, but why? Why isn't history boring? For one reason, no doubt, is that the future is perpetually giving birth to true novelty. Okay, I can understand this passage so much. The human history is a bit like a biological evolution. What there is in the present goes together in new ways to produce some things in the future before. There are undeniable trends in history, one of the most obvious being the increase in our scientific understanding and technological complexity of our world. Unprecedented object processes and possibilities continually come into existence, but the evolutionary history of life on Earth is not interesting solely because of their novelty that has emerged from the diverse state species. The fabric of life is also fascinating. Where was I? The evolutionary history of life on Earth is not interesting solely because of the novelty that is inherent in the history. Also fascinating because the subject to the wild fluctuations of critical state reveal both that the mass extinction and the terrific fluctuations of the populations of species and ecosystems elsewhere. If the same were true of the human cultural evolution, the web of connected cultures gripping the planet, this might be part of the reason that history is not boring. They bring into focus like a magnet. Imagine you lived in a magnetic world and the temperature was held below the critical point. The temperature at which the magnet was disrupted. All of the magnets would be pointing in the same direction and would rarely ever depart from it. All your friends would be doing the same thing, and life would be one long monotonous nothingness. The history of your world would have been fixed laws and unending peace and uniform uniformity stretching back through time. History would be truly boring. Indeed, there would be no history at all, since there are broken off narratives. I suppose instead the temperature would be raised. All about critical now, all the magnets would be flipping right from wildly at random, and that any one magnet did at any moment would have no correlation whatsoever with what the neighbors were doing. In this mad world, how your friends would be counted on for anything because there would be a shred of no continuity, no semblance to order, and the past would be a wholly senseless record of absolutely random changes. Again, a boring world, since the only thing you say of it would be it is random. But how much more interesting things would be if the temperature were brought close to a critical temperature. Suddenly, any one magnet would have considerable influence on its neighbors, but not so much that they would all fall into line. Society would now be filled with groups of all sizes, with the sunlight shifting constantly in a way that would neither be quite orderly or quite random. You and your occasionally might notice mass movements initiated by one or few magnets that would unexpectedly sweep across the entire world. History would seem to be over until after a period of calm and vertical length. The mass movement would go the other way. No movement would be a single copy of what just happened, but every single movement. History would be extremely interesting. No doubt is that the future is perpetually worth giving birth to novelty. Human history is a bit like a biological evolution. What there is in the present goes together in new ways to produce things in the future, the likes of which never before existed. There are undeniable trends in history, one of the most object being the increase in our scientific understanding to true. The unprecedented object present possibilities given existence, the evolutionary history of life is not interesting solely because of the novelty that is emerging. The disease is also the habit of life is interesting because the subject in the wild fluctuations in critical state revealed both in mass extinction and the terrific fluctuations in population, species, and ecosystems of all sorts. Does the author explain this statement? The future is perpetually giving birth to true novelty. Yes, by I can't use Control F, so calm down. Should the following situations would have the best example of the unpredicted objects, processes, and possibilities alluded to in the passage. The transformation of wild geese into tame domestic shock. Best example of the unprecedented objects, processes, and possibilities alluded to in the passage. 3 minutes. Historically certain countries. Wait, I can't find this. Possibilities. Unprecedented objects, processes, and possibilities eventually come into existence, but clearly, the evolutionary history of life on Earth is not interesting solely on the basis of knowledge. That is the undeniable trends in history, one of the most object being the increase. Okay, best example. Yeah, probably technology. Based on third paragraph of the passage, which of the following statements would the author most likely agree? Okay. Following statements with the change is good and accompanied by knowledge. Randomness, those who know are required for history to exist. Yes. When discussing the magnetic world, the author apparently wants the readers to imagine they are able observers. Natural observers. The possessors of magnets. Magnetic world. We're observers. Based on the passage of the following, which would be the best example of mass movements issued by one or few magnets that would initially? One country's revolution is understood. Okay, one disease. Technology has been one reach marketed to the ability to develop in other countries. Something under one country, many by leadership. I think revolution, right? That'd be interesting. Which of the following statements is most strongly suggested by Butterfield's quotation in the passage? What is Butterfield's quotation? Because which twists the course of history in a direction that man never intended. Cultural transformations makes history. Global upheavals makes no theory. Unexpected and significant events makes history so absorbing. Talented. Yeah. Unexpected and significant. Based on the passage, the author's ideal world would be described almost one as which there's a blend of randomness and predictability. There's a blend. Okay, speedrun. Vegetarian stylistic desire may be an engine of capitalism, but those seeking to address economic inequalities have also found it valuable for building and for strengthening unions, regulating production and retail practices, and championing redistributive economic policies. Considered as the universal virtue for capitalism, while better weapon to trim that system's excesses. When protein like capitalism itself, the tactics used to muster for its potential and cushion has also evolved. Thus, prior to World War I, consumption-based taxes for higher wages relied heavily on ethical claims as labor activists implicitly or explicitly defined an appropriate standard for living and demanded wages sufficient to reach that level. As 1920s progressed, union leaders and their liberal allies emphasized this a different justification. Rising industrial productivity would require speedrun. This shift in justifications for a standard of living bound to the transition these companies in the 1920s so the empirical research and understanding they create much accurate information of standards living. This instance, standards living the same. And compare them to the different. Consider the cost of maintaining a standard in over time. Differences in methodology equals compound, and all the studies were limited to social. The working class family farmers and poor immigrants. Along this tradition, social scientists began to build a second form of research. Research surveys these standards among a lot. Expenditure surveys promise to be a valuable tool for overcoming this deficit because there sounds that. Okay, 3 minutes, bro. Just grinding. Suppose that various expenditure surveys find that when interviewing people generally save their money rather than spend it on new products. This work derived from concerns and focus on the production that abstract formalism had left them incapable of addressing the distribution problems after the productivity boom of the war and the recession in the early 1920s. Economists lacked a sophisticated and empirically grounded theory of consumer demand. My computer's like, I smell burning. It's like, I think something's melting. It's not good. Roll 1 minute. Sweden. I don't see a date here. 25 seconds. Bro, those last questions are so cooked. Maybe if I had a better time start. Okay, so I'm gonna use this to try to fix my computer layout because I don't have my mouse and I want my mouse. So I'm gonna unplug my my mic real quick and see if I can do something. So wait, let me add a scene. Laptop. Okay. I'm gonna do a window capture of my laptopy. And then do wait, I don't want a window capture, sorry. I want to delete this. I want a display capture. Let me show you what I'm doing here. So laptop 2 maybe, okay. Let me show you this. So I have this here. I can choose my laptop and maybe do it like this. And now you can see my laptop. And then you do Okay. And if I switch from here to here, I think that's what you guys see. So now you guys see this. So if, yeah, now it's from here and I switch here. Okay, so now if I unplug my display port, it's fine because you guys don't notice anything. Yeah, well, you guys noticed something, but I fixed it. If I plug it into here, is everything okay? If this works, we're big chilling. We're big chilling. It says no signal. Let it cook. Let it cook. Let it cook. Please work. Please work. Please work, bro. Please. No, I don't think it's gonna work. It's too cheap. So how did I do it before? Wait, it must be. It must be that I had the display port in the original socket. So now it'll work, right? Yeah. I think it's working right now. Yeah, okay, so the monitor's back because we can see here. Oh, it's not catching it. Hold on. Properties. Let's get it back. Okay, now you can see this, right? So you can see the difference here. So I'm on my laptop. I think I can get it to charge if I plug it in here. Please work, bro. I need this to work. It's just not gonna work. Do I have to give up my mouse? It's just not gonna charge. It's just gonna choose not to charge. Here, I unplug this. And then charge my thing directly. We're gonna have energy. And as for my mouse, there is no other way. That's so cooked, bro. That's so cooked. How did it work before? Maybe it just didn't work. Maybe it just wasn't charging. That is so cooked. The mic is needed. The mouse is not. The charger is needed. The display port's needed. But I need my mouse, bro. I need it all. Why won't this charge? Why won't it charge with it? Maybe I should get a USB thing that makes it into a tube. I don't have such a thing. Okay, I'm gonna open up my chat. If there's someone in chat right now, we'll see if y'all can help me. Let's see. Let me check my chat. Let's see if y'all can figure out something for me. I have another subscriber. Whoa, it's crazy. Let's turn this off. Oop. Let's see. There is a grand total of no one in chat. That's okay. That's a vibe. We got the microphone working though, right? Let's double check the sound. We are getting some sort of audio, right? I don't hear anything. Is this a problem? I feel like this is a problem. Why is... Oh, it's muted. It's silly. We are getting some sort of audio, right? Silly goose. Of the war and the recession in the early 1920s. I sound goofy. This shift in justifications for a standard of living bound to the transition. These companies in the 1920s so the unfavorable research and they created most of it. Spending a lot of time trying to fix this. I think what we'll do here is... Oh, it's tough. I don't have a choice though. This connector is not good. Well, I can't believe it's so useless. Wait, what if I switched it? Okay, hear me out. I'm going to take this back to the laptop, right? I'm going to switch the display port. Hear me out. This might work. Please charge. Oh my, wait. Is it charging? It's not. It's not charging. It's not charging, no. Ow, I think I just burned myself. A piece of metal is super hot. Yeah, it's cooked. No mouse. No mouse for the weary. Let me just get F's in the chat for laptop song. Okay, super sad. That's okay. Let's take our 30-minute break. Get some lunch. Functional break is 30 minutes. To take this break, begin break by Alt B or raise your hand. Let's press Alt B. Let's do a fancy. Okay, 30 minutes on the clock. I'll be back. I'm gonna mute this so that yeah, for vibes. Bye. Wait, should I play some music for you?